What's up, all my fight fans? So, I want to talk to you guys about Tony Ferguson and his comeback at welterweight. Tony Ferguson was last time he was at welterweight, if I remember correctly, it was on when he was in the Tough House, and I believe the Tough was Brock Lesnar versus Junior Dos Santos. That's how far this goes. This is when Brock Lesnar was in the UFC. That's how long ago Tony Ferguson was at welterweight. But he's back now. He is back at UFC in September, September 10th, under the Nate Diaz versus Hamza Chimaev card. I believe that's 280. I want to say, quite possibly, or maybe 279. Yeah, UFC 279. And yeah, this is actually very interesting. He is facing Li Jiliang. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Please forgive me if I am. If I'm right, if I'm saying it wrong. Definitely interesting fight. Definitely interesting fight because Tony Ferguson has not looked the greatest as of late. His last win was against Donald Cerrone, I want to say in 2019. I want to say, I think it was June 2019, and it was a doctor stoppage. We remember Tony Ferguson. He was going on, I want to say, like an 8-9 fight win streak. And he went in there against guys like Josh Thompson, Kevin Lee, Anthony Pettis, Rafael Dos Anjos. The list goes on and on and on. He literally beat the who's who of the lightweights back in the day. And these were not guys that were on their way out. These were like actually killers. These guys were killers. And he had an unfortunate loss to Justin Gaethje. Then he went in there against Charles Oliveira, had a decision loss against him, and then Benio Dariush, and then head kick knockout, great, crazy knockout from Michael Chandler. So he is on a 4-fight losing streak, unfortunately, but still a very, very dangerous opponent. Very dangerous fighter. Extremely dangerous, extremely talented. This guy has no quit in him. You got to think about this. Think about this. If you guys want to think about it, Charles Oliveira's last decision was against Tony Ferguson. In that fight, he had him in an armbar, and he did not quit. He did not quit. 100% did not quit. And then you look at him, his win against, or not, excuse me, his loss against Justin Gaethje. What a brutal, brutal loss. He was getting hit. He was pretty much getting beaten, battered, but he did not quit. He got hit, and the doctor had to stop it. He was definitely very unhappy with it. He wanted to finish that fight, but just shows you, Tony Ferguson is a freaking dog. This guy will literally fight into the very end. Very, very end. Tough as they come. So him being at welterweight is definitely going to be interesting because now we have the likes of course, like Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards, who's now the champ. You got Kobe Covington, or a Masvidal. That would actually be a very fun one. But right now he has to get past Li Jiliang. And Li Jiliang is a very good welterweight. I ain't going to say a great, definitely not the top 5 for sure. Maybe I want to say top 15. I say anywhere between there because I know there's quite a few other contenders on there. But it's a good step for Tony Ferguson, and this is actually the right step. Tony Ferguson definitely wants to get in there and would have no problem going in there against guys like Gilbert Burns or a Jorge Masvidal or a Kobe Covington. But no, this is actually a good step to see where he's at, because that's what he needs. He needs somewhere to build that confidence. He needs somewhere to like, hey, let me get my feet wet a little bit before I jump in the deep end and start going after these killers. Because yeah, welterweights, there's some pretty big sized men in there, and they are killers. They are really, really killers. So Li Jiliang, very good fighter. His last outing, I believe it was against unknown welterweight, honestly. I can't even think of his name, but I know the fight before that, it was against Hamza. He definitely got submitted there. He has a loss over Neil Magny as well. He has a KO win over Santiago Ponzinibbio. So that's actually pretty decent. So, he's a good fighter. He's a really good fighter, and this is actually a really good challenge for Tony. And I believe Tony would actually come in here and be a little bit more himself because he's not going to be cutting weight. He is getting older. And I've always seen that fighters who do get older, they do tend to have a tendency to move up in weight because when you start cutting weight, it's a little bit more harder on the body as your body gets older. It's a little bit more harder for you to drop some of that weight. So he might be coming in there much more comfortable. I know he has gone to um, New Mexico and went against not went against, excuse me. He's taken on a new trainer, Greg Jackson, who is by far a trainer of champions. You know, he's had a lot of great champions. He's had John Jones, George St. Pierre, Carlos Condit, Rashad Evans. He's had a lot of great champions in that gym in New Mexico, Albuquerque. So it's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. I am very excited and very interested to see how Tony Ferguson does. Can he rejuvenate his career at welterweight? You know, can he come in there and be the Tony Ferguson of old before that Justin Gaethje loss? Or is this perhaps maybe the end of the road for Tony Ferguson, especially if he loses? My vote is I would like to see him get this victory and would like to see what more he has left in the tank, because I've always enjoyed watching Tony Ferguson. Definitely one of my favorite fighters. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think he's going to rejuvenate his career? Do you think this is the end of the road? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.